What's up, everybody? This is Justin Zimmerman with Game Time Discussions, and we are going back to March Madness bracket making, watching, enjoying. So today we're going to recap the first weekend, round of 64, round of 32. We're going to look at the Sweet 16. We're going to talk about my bracket and how good or not so good, not so well that it's doing, and what we expect to happen moving forward. So I will get my screen up. All right. So we're just going to go region by region. So to start with, we're going to zoom in a little bit, make it a little bit easier to see. There we go. So to start us off up in the first region, we had Auburn win the 116 game, which we expected. Creighton with a big win over Louisville, 89-75. Creighton just dominated on the inside. And then in our next game, Auburn came back and beat Creighton. They had actually a really good first half. Creighton was hitting a lot of threes. I believe they had 9 threes in the first half, but Auburn was just too strong, which we expected. We did get that one right. We expected Auburn to go ahead and win that first couple rounds. Next, Michigan barely squeaked out a win against UC San Diego. We did have UC San Diego winning that one. Very close game, came down to the buzzer. UC San Diego missing a 3 at the buzzer to tie it, would have sent it to overtime. A&M did take care of Yale. A&M was winning for a good portion of the game against Michigan. Then Michigan went on like a 30-10 run or 32-14 run, something crazy like that. Knocked the Aggies out. Michigan moving on in our Sweet 16 game. They'll be playing Auburn. At this point, I would expect Auburn to go ahead and win this game. I don't think Michigan has enough firepower. I do think Michigan matches up better with Auburn because of their bigs in the post than A&M would have. But I do think Auburn's going to go ahead and win and move on to the Elite Eight. Ole Miss did beat North Carolina. North Carolina had a vicious comeback in the second half. Unfortunately, too little too late. Just was not enough. Was not able to catch up and get it done. Would have been awesome if they did come back and we won that game, but that's all right. Iowa State destroying Lipscomb as expected. Then Ole Miss beating Iowa State. We were right that Iowa State would. Oh, actually, yeah. Iowa State, we expected to go ahead and win that one actually, and Ole Miss ended up winning. So big game there. Impressive that Ole Miss did take it over Iowa State. We did have North Carolina winning that first round. We did not expect Ole Miss to go ahead and win both of those games. So very impressive Ole Miss team. Chris Beard, for better or worse in his past issues off the court, is an amazing basketball coach, and that can't be understated. New Mexico beat Marquette like we expected. We love when a big upset happens. And then, I guess not a big upset, 7-10, but it was still a great game from New Mexico. Michigan State did beat Bryant, and then, which was actually a really fun first half, and then Michigan State showed why they're a 2 seed in the second half. Michigan State beating New Mexico, controlled the game for most of it. Next, we have Michigan State and Ole Miss. I do think Michigan State wins, as we had in our original bracket, leading to an Auburn-Michigan State Elite Eight. And then we do have Michigan State moving on from the South region, beating Auburn. All right, next we're going to go to our West region. Florida with the win over Norfolk State as expected. UConn won a really fun game against Oklahoma and then had an amazing game against Florida. They almost had it. Two big takeaways from this game for me are that A, Walter Clayton Jr. is extremely clutch, the point guard for Florida. Guy can just hit step back, sidestep threes all he wants, make sure his team wins, hits huge shots, never looked pressured. Amazing performance out of him. Second, Dan Hurley is a great coach. He coaches guys to win. They are the back-to-back reigning champions. Obviously, they will not defend that this year. They did lose. He is kind of a crybaby off the court. A lot of expletive-filled rants and complaining about refs and not getting the whistle. It is what it is. You have to have the good and the bad, I suppose, but he can definitely win games. Dan Hurley wins games. That's what it comes down to. Regardless, we have Florida and the Sweet 16 as we expected. Memphis, Colorado State, we did call this upset. We had Colorado State winning this one. And then we had Maryland beating Grand Canyon, which was not an upset, obviously, and they did win by 32. We then had Maryland beating Colorado State in our bracket. That being said, this game came down to a buzzer beater by Derek Queen on Maryland. It was amazing, especially after Colorado State hit a deep three with like 3 seconds left. People are complaining about maybe Derek Queen traveled. That is up to you. If you haven't seen the highlight, go watch that. It's a very close call with the whole gather step and then 2 steps after. Watch it for yourself, decide for yourself. Either way, it was a fantastic game. We have our Sweet 16 matchup we predicted, Florida versus Maryland. Obviously, that's the chalk outcome, 1-4, so not that surprising. We do have Florida moving on to the Elite Eight out of that side. Drake ended up beating Missouri, so this is one we flip-flopped back and forth over and over again, deciding where we were going to go with it. And we ended up taking Missouri. They did lose to Drake. Texas Tech beating UNC Wilmington, and then Tech beating Drake. We did predict Tech to move on to the Sweet 16, so got that part right. We actually had Kansas beating Arkansas, which I ended up changing on a couple of my other brackets after thinking through it more. I took Arkansas. It was a very 50-50 decision. The game obviously came down to the wire. It was a 7-point game. Arkansas, John Calipari is not to be messed with. St. John's, they did beat Omaha, the 15 seed over, or the 2 seed over the 15 seed, but then they lose to John Calipari. Their shooting fell apart. They had absolutely no shooting the whole game. Nothing was falling from three. They weren't stopping Arkansas at the times they needed to. Arkansas with a big win there against St. John's. John Calipari gets the win over Rick Pitino, his rival. Next, we have Tech playing against Arkansas, and we will go ahead and still stay with our prediction that Tech beats Arkansas. All right, we will go to our next part of the bracket. So up in the top right portion of our bracket, we had Duke winning, and this is sharing. Let me move this over. Get all the way up. There we go. Duke beating the 16 seed Mount St. Mary's. Baylor did end up beating Mississippi State, which is what we predicted in that side of the bracket. So we're happy with the 2 wins there. Oregon beating Liberty, Arizona beating Akron, and then Arizona beating Oregon in what was a fantastic game. And we actually got that completely correct. So it's always fun when we get the entire 4-game slate correct. And then the 2 round of 32 games. Arizona's going to be playing Duke. We do have Duke winning that game, moving on to the Elite Eight. Down here, not as good for us. We did take VCU to get the upset. They couldn't pull it off. We predicted they would then beat Wisconsin. So we were right that Wisconsin would lose. Unfortunately, we were wrong on who would beat them. BYU advances. Down below, we have St. Mary's over Vanderbilt. That one was another game we were flip-flopping on, similar to the Drake-Missouri game. We ended up taking St. Mary's. Glad we did. They did end up winning. And then Alabama barely beating Robert Morris. Amazing, fun little 15-seed, 2-seed game there. But then Alabama controlled the whole game against St. Mary's. I do think their offense is just going to be too fast-paced, team's too athletic, just too good overall for BYU, and I expect Alabama to be playing Duke in the Elite Eight. From there, we do predict that Duke is going to move on to the Final Four, and we'll come back to the predictions in a minute. For our last region, Houston, 1 seed beating the 16 seed. Gonzaga with a huge win over Georgia. And then Houston and Gonzaga, an amazing game. Probably should have been realistically an Elite Eight game. But Houston did come out winning it. Huge stop at the end to hold on for victory. Kelvin Sampson takes the team for another Sweet 16. It did end Gonzaga's run of like 9 straight Sweet 16s. And then, or 10, 9 or 10. And then Houston is now at like 6 straight Sweet 16s, which is just an important piece of information when you talk about how good of a coach Mark Few is, how good of a coach Kelvin Sampson is. To have that much consistency of success is just amazing. Clemson McNeese State was an absolutely fantastic game, similar to the Drake-Missouri one. Unfortunately, in the Drake-Missouri one, we did take the lower seed, and in the Clemson McNeese, we took the higher seed, which we had flip-flopped it. McNeese ended up winning, which was really cool to see. Amir Khan, the manager, gets his NIL deals. Will Wade is going to NC State, and Amir Khan is apparently, the manager is apparently going with him, which is really awesome to see. Purdue struggled a little bit against High Point. Then they went and dominated the game against McNeese State. Honestly, the game was farther than the score shows, and I know it was a 14-point game. Purdue jumped out to a huge lead in the first half and never looked back. They'll be playing Houston in the Sweet 16. I do expect Houston to win that game, though. I think they just have too much offensive and defensive firepower. Their consistency is fantastic. I do still have them going to the Final Four. Kentucky, we'll do Illinois. Xavier, they looked gassed, honestly. I think they were just gassed from that win over Texas. We did get that one wrong. We thought Xavier would come out with more firepower. They did not. We then expected the winner of that game to beat Kentucky. Kentucky beating Troy. Kentucky still looks amazing even with all their injuries. They've controlled the ball on offense very well, played some great defense too. Illinois, we know, was injured as well, though, so not a great litmus test. It'll be interesting to see what they do against Tennessee. That moves us down to our last couple games here of round one. Didn't mean to click that. All right. Last few games of round one. We had UCLA dominating Utah State, Tennessee winning over Wofford, and then Tennessee beating a really good UCLA team. The 2 seed moves on to play Kentucky. SEC rematch here. I do expect Tennessee to win this one, and that is mainly due to Kentucky's injuries. I think if Kentucky had Jackson Robinson, they were a fully healthy team. It wasn't their first year with Mark Pope as the coach. I think Kentucky might be able to win this game, and actually they probably would be my pick. But for all those reasons, I do have Tennessee moving on with Bruce Pearl, and then they'd be playing Houston. And then, of course, we would be talking about the Kelvin Sampson-Bruce Pearl matchup, Houston, Tennessee. In the Elite Eight. All right, we're going to go ahead and zoom out here. Just let me know. All right, so now we're going to go through our picks. As always, transparency on here. Let me get that pulled up. We're going to share something else. All right, so same thing. We're just going to go through our picks, what we had. 44 points, not too bad. Points remaining, 128. Upset points. Don't worry about the rank. That's all right. So up here, not our best region. Good news is we do still have both of our Elite Eight teams here, and more importantly, our Final Four teams. As you can see, a couple missed ones here. Go down. Pretty good region here, not too bad. We have both of our Elite Eight teams still. We only missed 2 first round games, and right here in the second round game, we only missed 1. So almost have our whole Sweet 16 on this side. Down here, not as great. Still not horrible, though. We actually only missed 2 first round and 2 of the second round, so still not bad. We'll take it. We have both of our Elite Eights in. We need both of those to win to really move up. We're getting into bigger points here. And then in this region, probably our best region, if only VCU had pulled off the upset, we would have been doing amazing there. But overall, definitely not mad about it. Had a couple games where we flip-flopped and probably should have switched it. Same with the VCU BYU and our Drake Missouri game. So would have been really cool to see. Just a reminder of where we're looking at. We're hoping that, like I said, Duke and Alabama win their games, Auburn, Michigan State win their games, Florida, Texas Tech win theirs, and then Tennessee, Houston. Our Final Four we're looking at, Duke and Houston, Michigan State and Florida, with the eventual championship game being Florida and Duke, with Duke winning. So we'll see if that comes to fruition. I love March Madness. I love bracketology, looking at the brackets, seeing statistics, all that kind of stuff. Right now, I wouldn't make any changes to my current picks, talking about the games this week and who my Elite Eight and Final Four teams are. Just because I don't really have a reason to. None of them underperformed to what I expected them to do. Maybe some didn't win by as big of margin as I expected, but that's all right. Winning is winning, and that's what matters here. So win and move on. Thank y'all very much for joining me. Let me know if your team is still in it, if you have any changes you would make to your bracket right now, or what you expect to happen as we come into the Sweet 16 and Elite 8 rounds. So please like, comment, subscribe to the channel, ask any questions, post any comments, anything you got for me or you want me to address, or any specific games or matchups we're looking forward to, or just any bold predictions, leave them in the comments section. Like I said, thank y'all very much for joining us, and I will see y'all next week.